With over 90 missing person cases, the Ozarks have become a place of horror and mystery. Locals believe something is lurking there that is responsible for people just vanishing. From the terrifying lizard man and misty figures lurking in the thicket to mysterious creatures stalking humans, these are the scariest things caught on trail cameras. A hunter had set up a trail camera in the Tuskegee National Forest in Alabama after finding strange tracks near his deer stand. Late one night, the camera triggered and a tall figure stepped out from between the trees. It stood upright like a man, but its whole body was covered in thick, dark hair and its shoulders looked far too broad to be a human. It moved slowly across the clearing, pausing once near the brush, before disappearing back into the darkness. The hunter believed he had caught proof of a Sasquatch. Extraterrestrials. On the 5th of July, 2024, a hunter stopped going into the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina after reviewing his dashcam footage. Walking past the camera were three pale, hairless figures with oversized bald heads, deep black hollow eyes, and mouths hanging open. Their skin looked smooth and glowing under the infrared light, nothing like human skin at all. The hunter was so shaken by what he saw that he became convinced they were aliens. Forest giant. A camper reviewing the trail camera footage from his site in the Superstition Mountains forest in Arizona was left shocked by what he found one night. Standing between the trees was a tall humanoid figure, far taller than any person, with two eyes glowing faintly in the dark. It stood motionless for a long moment, almost blending into the trunks around it, before slowly walking upright deeper into the woods. Confused and unsettled, he shared the clip on Instagram, where one commenter suggested it might have been a giant. Forest horror. A ranger doing routine checks in the Nantahala National Forest in North Carolina had left a trail camera near a stream after noticing broken branches and flattened brush along the bank for weeks. One night, the camera caught a large, hunched figure standing motionless among the trees. Its body was covered in thick, matted fur, and its shoulders were far broader than any bear's, arms hanging heavy at its sides. It stood there for a while before slowly turning and vanishing into the darkness. When the ranger reviewed the clip, he was certain he had finally caught a Bigfoot. Snow rake. A landowner in the Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont had set up a trail camera near his property line after finding strange drag marks in the snow for several mornings in a row. One night, the camera caught a thin, hunched creature moving low across the open field. Its limbs were long and bony, its head small, and it crawled forward in an unnatural, jerking motion. When the footage was shared online, viewers were convinced it was a rake, a creature known for stalking people in the dark. Skinwalker sighting. This trail camera footage was shared by one of our subscribers, recorded near his property along the Cherokee National Forest, Tennessee. A pale, bald head slowly leaned out from behind a thick tree trunk, its skin almost glowing white in the dark, eyes fixed straight toward the camera. It held that stare for a few seconds before dropping low and slipping out of sight. Viewers online are calling it a skinwalker, but I would like to know your take on it, so let me know in the comments section. Giant hand. A property owner near the Superior National Forest in Minnesota had installed a trail camera on a tree after finding large, unexplained footprints across his land for several days. On November 8, 2020, at 6:43 in the evening, the camera triggered, but instead of a full creature, it caught only a massive hand reaching toward the lens. The skin looked rough, weathered, and the fingers seemed the size of a grown man's arm. The rest of the body never came into view, and this mystery remained unsolved. Forest stalker. A man living near the Kaibab National Forest in Arizona had installed a CCTV camera around his house after hearing strange high-pitched noises out of the trees. One night, the camera caught a lean creature crouched low near his fence, moving on all fours with an odd, jerky gait that looked almost broken. Its limbs were thin and stretched too long for its body, and its head hung low as it crept across the yard before slipping back into the dark. When he watched the footage back, he became convinced it was a skinwalker. Possessed deer. A researcher studying deer patterns in the Chattahoochee National Forest in Georgia had set up a trail camera when it caught something standing upright in the grass. Its body shaped like a deer but balanced strangely on two legs like a man. Its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, long and narrow, giving it an unsettling stare toward the trees. The way it was behaving, it looked as if it were possessed. Terrifying witch. There had been rumors for years of a witch living deep in the Nicolet National Forest in Wisconsin, so a local installed a trail camera to see if there was any truth to the stories. What he found left him stunned. The footage showed dogs sprinting through the trees as if being chased, and right behind them came something far more terrifying: a thin, wild figure moving at incredible speed with long hair whipping in the air and sharp, elongated nails stretched out at its sides. Its body looked human, but nothing about the way it moved did. Tall forest figure. On the 7th of April, 2023, a forest ranger sent a remote control camera in the Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia to survey storm damage along the old hiking paths. After reaching the middle of the forest, something unexpected crossed the trail in broad view. A tall, upright figure moved quickly through the clearing, its whole body covered in thick black fur, arms swinging as it walked with a heavy stride. The ranger reviewed the clip several times and left convinced he had captured a Bigfoot. Wendigo. A botanist searching for rare plants along the edge of the Superior National Forest in Minnesota came across something far more disturbing. Standing tall in the open field ahead was a creature with a deer's head and long branching horns, but its body stood upright on two legs like a man. For a moment, it stared at him, then it dropped down onto all fours and bolted past him into the tall grass. Shaken, he later researched the sighting and became convinced he had encountered a Wendigo. Grabbed by a ghost. A man was walking home one evening, along a narrow path cutting through the green swamp forest in North Carolina, when a black shadow suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Terrified, he dropped to the ground, and in that instant, the shadow reached out, grabbed him by the leg, and vanished back into the trees just as fast as it had come. He scrambled to his feet and ran the rest of the way home without even looking back. Shaken, he was certain he had just come face to face with a ghost. Golem sighting. A man was camping alone in the Sam Houston National Forest, Texas, when a sharp wood creaking sound pulled him out of his tent. He grabbed his camera, switched on his torch, and pointed it toward the trees, and what he saw left his jaw dropped. Towering above the branches was a giant, bald figure, its skin thick, cracked, and weathered like old clay, staring down at him before slowly slipping behind the tall trunks. The next morning, his camera and torch were found untouched at the spot where he had been standing, but the man himself was never found. Many believe what he saw that night was a golem, an ancient giant said to guard the land it walks. Possessed buck. One Sunday night, a hunter was reviewing his trail camera footage in the Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont, hoping to catch a few deer before the season opened. Instead, he found something that made him pause. A large buck stood in front of the camera, antlers spread wide, its mouth hanging half open in an unnatural way. It slowly turned its head from side to side, over and over, in a stiff, jerking motion. The hunter could only describe it as looking possessed. Bizarre creature. A conservationist studying native wildlife in the forests of Tasmania had left trail cameras running along a quiet ridge, hoping to catch footage of local wallabies. Instead, the footage caught something strange. A striped, dog-like creature moved briskly through the ferns, its back marked with dark bands running down toward a stiff, low-hanging tail. Its jaw looked oddly wide, and its gait was unlike any known animal in the region. When the footage was reviewed, experts were stunned. The creature matched the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, declared extinct a century ago. Krampus creature. A camper staying near the Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont had left a trail camera strapped to a tree after hearing heavy footsteps circling his tent for 2 nights straight. The footage caught something massive standing just beyond the brush, its body covered in thick, shaggy black fur, with 2 curved horns rising from its head. Its eyes glowed a stark white in the dark, and its mouth hung open, silent snarl aimed straight at the lens. It held its ground for several seconds before slowly backing into the trees. Many who saw the clip believed it matched old tales of the Krampus. Unseen visitor. A hunter had set up a trail camera in the Chugach National Forest in Alaska to track moose activity. For days, nothing unusual showed up. Then one night, the footage jolted violently, as if something had grabbed the camera, shaking it hard. Whatever it was, never once stepped into view. No shape, no eyes, nothing the lens could catch. When the hunter reviewed the clip, he was left wondering what this creature could be. Smoky creature. A landowner near the Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia had set up a trail camera along a logging trail just to keep an eye on trespassers. On June 17, 2020, at around 2:18 in the morning, the camera caught a pale, glowing shape drifting silently between the trees. It had no clear arms or legs, just a soft white outline floating past before fading into the darkness ahead. He became convinced that his land was haunted by a ghost. Forest witch. A homeowner near the Hoosier National Forest in Indiana had installed a trail camera in his backyard after his dog kept waking him up by barking. One evening, the camera caught the dog standing stiff, staring into the woods at something the camera showed nothing for. Its ears were pinned back, and it would not stop growling. Then, a dark shape shot past the frame at a speed no animal should move at, gone before the dog could even react. The owner believed it had to be a witch, since the forest behind his house had long been rumored to be haunted. Giant spider. A hunter had set up a trail camera in the dense forests of the Congo Basin to track the movements of forest antelope after several had gone missing. One night, the camera caught something crawling slowly out of the thick brush. Its body was massive, and 8 long legs carried it forward at a slow pace. No ordinary spider should have been able to manage at that size. When the hunter reviewed the clip and showed it to locals, they said it matched old stories of Jeba Fofi, a giant spider from Congolese folklore said to grow far larger than usual spiders. Curious bear. A hunter installed a trail camera in the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas to see what kept knocking over his feed piles at night. What he found on the footage left him stunned. A large, dark, furred creature stood close to the lens, its face filling the view, teeth fully bared as if warning him to stay away. He believed it was a dogman, standing upright like a man, but when he shared the clip online, most viewers brushed it off, saying it was just a curious bear caught a little too close to the camera. Haunted light. A group of hunters in the Daniel Boone National Forest, Kentucky, were reviewing their trail camera footage one evening when something on the path stopped them cold. A small glowing light appeared at the edge of the trees, sitting still on the trail for a moment before suddenly shooting forward and streaking from left to right through the air at incredible speed. The hunters had no explanation for what they had seen and were left believing it might have been something ghostly. Forest mystery. A camper in the Appalachian Mountains near Wytheville, Virginia, had left a trail camera strapped to a tree after hearing something large moving through the brush for 3 nights. On April 19, 2025, the camera caught something stepping in front of the lens, its whole body covered in thick, matted hair. It stood there for a moment, then began shaking its body in a strange, jerky motion, almost like it was trying to shed something. Its face never came into view, only the fur filling the view was enough to give him nightmares. Ancient cat. A wildlife researcher had set up a trail camera in the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky to record the movements of local mountain lions. When she reviewed the footage days later, she was left shocked. Staring straight into the lens and roaring was a massive cat with glowing eyes and 2 long fangs hanging from its jaw, far larger than any lion. Terrified by what she had captured, she never went back into those woods to retrieve its trail cam, convinced it was a saber-toothed cat. Velociraptor. A woman was checking the CCTV footage of her backyard near the Sam Houston National Forest in Texas, when something bone-chilling flashed across the screen. A fast-moving shape darted past the camera, low to the ground, with a long tail trailing stiffly behind it as it ran. It moved on 2 legs at a speed that startled her. She replayed the clip several times, trying to make sense of the shape and the tail, and became convinced that what had run through her yard was a velociraptor. Dogman. A rancher near the Wichita Mountains in Oklahoma had set up a camera along his back fence after losing several goats. One morning, the footage showed a dark, muscular creature standing upright on 2 legs right at the fence line. Its body covered in coarse black fur and its face long and canine, almost wolf-like. It stared straight into the camera with a heavy, unblinking gaze, its front paws hanging low like hands. It stood there for several seconds before dropping down and slipping away. The rancher had no doubt it was a dogman he once heard about in folktales. Goat sucker. A man near Uwharrie National Forest in North Carolina installed a motion sensor camera by his goat pen after losing animals on 2 consecutive nights with no sign of a struggle. That night, the footage showed only darkness at the tree line, except for 2 glowing eyes staring out from the shadows. By morning, another goat was gone, with no sound, footprints, or broken fence. He was left convinced that the creature in the footage was responsible. Chilling encounter. A hiker had lost his trail late at night in the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina when he came face to face with something bizarre. Standing just ahead of him was a creature shaped like a wolf, its eyes glowing bright in the dark, its body swaying with an odd, unsteady gait as if it could barely hold itself upright. Without warning, it lunged straight toward him before veering off and vanishing into the black trees. Shaken and out of breath, he made it back to his car and was certain he had encountered a werewolf. What do you think it really was? Bizarre black figure. A hiker was making his way through the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania back in 2024 when he heard a sharp cracking sound coming from the trees ahead. He stopped and quickly pulled out his phone to record. Moving through the woods was a dark, upright figure, its whole body covered in shaggy black fur, walking with a strange, swaying gait unlike anything it had seen. Curious, he shared the clip online, believing it was Bigfoot, but viewers brushed it off as a chimpanzee. Strange horse. A farmer near the Ocala National Forest in Florida had set up a trail camera along his back pasture after noticing his fences were disturbed. The footage showed a dark, horse-like creature moving slowly along the tree line, its pace stiff and unnatural, almost hesitant with every step. A single thin white line ran down its back from head to tail, unlike any marking he had seen on horses in the area. The farmer still has no idea where it came from or what kind of horse it was. If you have any idea, then write it down in the comments section. Prehistoric creatures. A researcher tracking wild boar activity in the Big Thicket National Forest in Texas had left a trail camera running for weeks. One night, it caught something unexpected slipping through the bushes, a lean creature with glowing eyes and a long tail trailing stiffly behind it as it moved. Moments later, 3 more of the same creature passed through the same gap in the brush, one after another, moving quickly from left to right before vanishing into the dark. Take a close look yourselves and let me know in the comments. Do these look like velociraptors to you or something far stranger? Part human, part dog. A man was driving down a quiet forest road near the Ouachita National Forest in Arkansas late one night when his headlights caught something standing just off the shoulder. It was upright like a man, but with pointy ears and a human-like face that turned slowly to watch his car pass. Its eyes seemed to catch the light unnaturally as it stood there, unmoving, half hidden in the green glow of the trees. Terrified, he sped away without looking back, certain he had just seen a dogman. Disguised creature. A professional wildlife photographer was filming a small group of deer grazing in the Osceola National Forest in Florida when something happened that stopped him cold. One of the deer suddenly rose straight up onto its hind legs, standing fully upright like a person, its front legs hanging stiffly at its sides while the others kept grazing beside it as if nothing was wrong. Terrified, he grabbed his gear and ran without looking back. When he later reviewed the footage, he became convinced it was not a deer at all, but a skinwalker wearing its shape. Forest monster. A hunter was waiting quietly for deer to pass through the Chequamegon National Forest in Wisconsin when something in the bushes ahead nearly stopped his heart. A massive, dark shape sat hunched behind the branches, its huge, rounded head barely visible through the tangle of twigs, with only its eyes visible. It did not move, did not make a sound, just sat there watching him. He backed away slowly, convinced he had come face to face with a forest monster. Frightening predator. This footage was recovered from the body cam of a wildlife officer who had gone into the Angelina National Forest in Texas at night searching for his missing dog. Deep in the trees, he came across something spine-chilling standing on the trail ahead of him. The creature resembled a small T-Rex with short-clawed arms, powerful hind legs, and a long tail held stiff behind it. Before he could react, it lunged forward straight at him. Only his camera was ever recovered from the scene. The officer was never found, and authorities are still searching for him. Dark shadows. A farmer near the Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana had set up a trail camera by his shed after finding claw marks scraped into the bark of nearby trees for several nights. The footage caught two dark, human-shaped figures moving low through the yard. One of them climbed straight up a tree with surprising speed, then dropped back down to the ground and moved off using the same strange gait. Suddenly, the second figure rose to its feet and disappeared into the darkness without a sound. The farmer never found any tracks the next morning, only more scratches on the bark, and became convinced that those figures were ghosts. Forest anomaly. A hiker had left a trail camera strapped to a tree in the Tongass National Forest in Alaska to catch footage of the local wildlife for a school project. On October 28, 2023, at 1:27 in the morning, the camera caught something crouched at the base of a trunk. Its skin was pale and hairless, its limbs long and bony, and its head oddly large for its thin body as it crawled forward on all fours. When the footage was shared online, most viewers dismissed it as a hoax, though a few were convinced it was a real rake. Brachiosaurus. A wildlife researcher had installed a trail camera in the Ocala National Forest in Florida to study the local deer population before hunting season began. One night, the camera caught something impossible. A massive creature with a long, curved neck and a huge body was moving slowly between the trees. Towering far above the brush around it. Its shape looked like a brachiosaurus, a dinosaur believed extinct for millions of years. The researcher watched the clip over and over, unable to explain how something like that could still be walking through American woods. Open discussion. Now it's time for today's most awaited clip of the day. There had been reports of missing livestock in a small village near the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas, so the villagers set up trail cameras along the tree line, hoping to catch whatever was responsible. One night, the cameras picked up a strange creature moving low across the ground on all fours, its limbs bending at angles no normal animal's body should allow. It was carrying something in its mouth as it moved toward the trees. After watching the footage together, the villagers became convinced they were dealing with a rake, and no one dared to check the forest alone after that. Weird creature. A strange noise outside drew one woman into her backyard late one evening, where she discovered something standing quietly beside the fence line. The small figure had an unusually large head and oversized dark eyes that immediately caught her attention. As she began recording, it briefly moved on all fours before suddenly rising upright and sprinting into the nearby woods with remarkable speed. Some viewers believed it reacted the instant it noticed the camera pointed in its direction, almost as though it understood it was being watched. The footage remains one of those clips that becomes more unsettling the more times you replay it, searching for details that might explain what actually crossed that backyard. Route Walker. Whoever recovered the footage never explained where the camera had been placed or what happened after this encounter. Trail cameras are built to capture deer, bears, and the occasional mountain lion, not whatever this was. Deep inside a dense forest, one motion-activated camera recorded a towering figure with glowing eyes stepping out from tangled branches. Its body looked as though it had been formed from twisted roots and weathered bark, moving with slow, deliberate steps directly across the lens. The resemblance to a living tree creature spread rapidly online, but what unsettled most viewers wasn't its appearance, it was how convincingly natural it moved. Silent Watcher. A routine hike through the woods became something far more disturbing when one man noticed a motionless figure standing between the trees. At first glance, it appeared human, but the longer he watched, the more wrong it looked. As it began moving, its unnaturally long arms swung with a slow rhythm unlike any person's gait. Taking cover behind a nearby brush, he zoomed in and caught a face many compared to the classic image of a grey alien. Throughout the entire encounter, it never spoke, never reacted, and never made a sound. Sometimes, silence can be far more unsettling than any scream. Forest Stalker. Deep in the forests of Arkansas, a trail camera captured a sequence that continues to divide viewers. An unusually tall creature entered the frame walking comfortably on two legs before abruptly dropping onto all fours in one fluid movement. Wildlife experts often identify animals by the way they walk, yet this motion matched nothing commonly found in North American forests. The creature paused briefly, almost appearing to notice the camera, then vanished into the trees with remarkable speed. Whether it was an elaborate hoax or something genuinely unidentified, the footage remains one of the stranger trail camera clips to surface online. Creature behind boulder. A quiet evening in the rugged wilderness of Wyoming produced footage that left many viewers replaying the same few seconds repeatedly. A trail camera overlooking a large boulder recorded a lanky creature crawling from behind the rock on all fours before slowly pulling itself onto the flat surface above. It remained there for several moments, almost as though surveying the surrounding forest, before calmly climbing back down and disappearing behind the same boulder. Nothing chased it, and nothing appeared frightened. Whatever the camera recorded seemed completely comfortable in that isolated landscape. Tree percher. The forests of Bankhead National Forest, Alabama, are home to black bears, bobcats, and countless nocturnal animals, but this wasn't any of them. Late one night, a camper followed the sound of rustling branches and swept his flashlight into the trees. Perched high above him sat a pale, hairless figure gripping the bark with long skeletal fingers. Its oversized dark eyes reflected the light as its head slowly tilted, never breaking eye contact. It didn't climb, leap, or make a sound. The man quietly backed away before leaving the campsite altogether, convinced that whatever he had found had been watching him long before he ever looked up. Rake encounter. Checking a backyard security camera near the Appalachian Mountains, one homeowner expected to see little more than deer wandering through the tree line. Instead, a pale, hairless figure emerged from the woods, crouching low before rising upright with movements unlike any known animal. Many online immediately compared it to the legendary rake, a creature frequently reported across North American forests. The Appalachians are already surrounded by decades of unexplained folklore, making the location only add to the mystery. Concerned by what he had recorded, The homeowner shared the footage publicly and has reportedly monitored his property much more carefully ever since. Hillside Witch. A quiet night of camping in the hills of Indonesia took an unsettling turn when unusual sounds echoed from the darkness above the campsite. Expecting an animal, the camper raised his flashlight toward the hillside. Instead, the beam revealed a motionless woman dressed in pale clothing, her long black hair hanging over her shoulders as she stood silently watching from above. Across Indonesian folklore, stories of wandering female spirits have been passed down for generations, particularly in remote forests and mountain regions. Whether this was simply someone standing alone in the darkness or something far more mysterious, the camper wasted no time packing his belongings and leaving before sunrise. Forest entity. An Indonesian YouTuber entered a remote stretch of forest after dark, hoping to capture something unusual for his channel. Instead, he found himself recording an encounter he still can't explain. Between the trees, a pale figure with unnaturally long arms slowly stepped into view, moving with stiff, jerking motions that looked disturbingly inhuman. As his flashlight caught its grey skin and swollen-looking face,
Allah, 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 Allah.
He quietly backed away while whispering protective prayers beneath his breath. Indonesian forests have inspired supernatural legends for centuries, and after seeing this footage, many viewers believe those stories might exist for a reason.
Allah, 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 Allah.
Wall crawler. A home security camera in Belfast captured footage that many viewers admitted they regretted watching after dark. Clinging to the outside wall was a pale humanoid figure with oversized black eyes and long webbed fingers pressed against the brickwork. It appeared to be testing a window or searching for a way inside when barking suddenly erupted from somewhere within the house. Almost instantly, the figure released its grip and slipped backward into the darkness, disappearing so quickly that it was difficult to follow on camera. Whatever brought it to that house remains completely unknown. Roadside stalker. Driving through a quiet stretch of rural Texas after dark, a man noticed something standing just beyond the reach of his headlights. Assuming it was another traveler, he slowed down for a better look. Instead, he found a pale figure crouched among the trees.
Buddy, how you doing? Oh.
Twisting toward the road with movements that looked painfully unnatural. Rather than retreating from the light, it seemed to lean closer, almost drawn toward the vehicle.
Just some cruisers, man. That's crazy.
Not wanting to find out what happened next, he accelerated immediately and never looked back. Isolated backroads have produced countless unexplained encounters, and this clip only added another unsettling story to the list.
He's crawling at me like it's goddamn. What's up, dude?
Tree spirit. Cycling home late at night through Johor, Malaysia, one rider suddenly slammed on his brakes after noticing something perched high above the roadside. Sitting silently on a tree branch was a figure dressed entirely in white, its dark face tilted downward as though watching every movement below. Despite visibly shaking, he managed to record several moments before carefully continuing down the road. When neighbors later watched the footage, many immediately identified the figure as the Pontianak. One of Southeast Asia's most enduring supernatural legends, said to appear near lonely roads and forests after dark. Whether myth or mistaken identity, the rider has refused to travel that route again at night. Tailed stalker. An evening walk along a quiet trail in rural Pennsylvania came to an abrupt stop when one man noticed a lone figure standing motionless ahead. At first, it resembled a woman with long hair waiting among the trees, but the closer he got, the stranger the silhouette became. A long tail extended behind it, while unusually long nails reflected the faint light every time it shifted. Unwilling to lower his camera despite every instinct telling him to leave, without warning, the figure turned and slipped silently into the forest, disappearing between the trees before he could follow. Pennsylvania's forests have long been associated with unexplained sightings, making the encounter even harder for viewers to dismiss. Roadside signal. Driving home alone late one night, a man suddenly spotted something sitting directly in the middle of the road ahead. It was impossibly thin, seated cross-legged beneath his headlights, with an oddly misshapen head that immediately caught his attention. Instead of running away, the figure slowly lifted one skeletal arm and gestured toward a road branching off to the right, almost as though it wanted him to change direction. He stayed inside the vehicle, keeping his camera fixed on the scene until the figure quietly rose and disappeared back into the surrounding trees. Some viewers later compared the encounter to reports of mysterious roadside entities said to lure travelers deeper into isolated forests, though no explanation has ever been confirmed. Late one night, some friends were having fun in the forest, but all their fun ended when something came out of the trees. There was a monstrous beast clinging to the tree. It was so black that it blended with the night. It had no tail, no ears. Only one thing was visible. Its eyes that were eerily glowing in the dark. The beast did not make a move. It just kept staring, and the friends were so terrified that they left the forest immediately, away from its prying eyes. This footage shows a strange animal-like creature on camera. It was pitch darkness when a dog was chasing something frantically. It was not clear what it was, but then the creature ran past the dog. Now, it might be possible that this was just an ostrich running in the forest, but there was something really strange about the way it was jumping, and ostriches don't jump. This is why you shouldn't visit graveyards at night. He saw a person in a white cloth near the graves, but that's not all. Something was really wrong about it. Its body was bending and twisting in an unusual way. In fact, its entire presence was extremely unsettling. The cameraman was sure that the person was possessed. Because once it had left, he found a creepy ritualistic doll near those graves. Now what's that glowing in the dark? The man was having a nice time in the forest with his dog, but while recording, he noticed something frightening.
Something is watching my dog. That is big.
Two bright eyes were glowing among the trees, gazing at the dog like a predator waiting to pounce. The eyes appeared for a brief moment and then disappeared. But before the man could feel a sense of relief, those creepy eyes returned. He was really unsettled by this, so he stopped recording and left with his dog.
Something is watching my dog. That is big.
There were rumors about a mysterious tribe dwelling in a remote jungle, so a team of explorers decided to uncover the truth. But what they found was completely bone-chilling. They discovered these creepy monstrosities that were not quite human, not quite animal. Their skin was completely pale and grey, and their actions were even stranger, because it looked like they were performing a ritual. The explorers deeply regretted what they found, and they did not dare step closer. There are some unknown creatures hiding in the woods, and these hikers encountered the worst of them. During their hiking trip, they were hearing strange noises coming from the woods. But the men thought that it was just an animal, until one night. They got too close to it. There it was, crouching in the darkness. Its bony limbs and pale skin were really eerie. Then suddenly, it faced the camera. The creature's face was even more terrifying. Its eyes were glowing, and that made this cryptid look even more demonic, which scared the men, so they ran away. Forest giant. Stopping beside a remote logging road at dusk, one driver opened his door to let his dog out for a short break. The animal refused to leave the vehicle. Instead, it froze, ears pinned back and eyes fixed on the tree line. Standing there was a towering figure completely covered in thick black hair, easily taller than any person. It remained perfectly still for several seconds before turning and walking back into the forest with slow, heavy strides. Dogs are often able to detect movement, scent, and sounds long before humans notice them, making the animal's reaction almost as unsettling as the figure itself. Possessed Bigfoot. A camera strapped to a tree branch caught something nightmare-inducing. About 10 feet above a feeder, it recorded what looked like a possessed Bigfoot. Suddenly, it let out a bone-chilling roar towards the camera. Its mouth was wide open with eyes looking at the sky. After a few terrifying moments, the creature disappeared into the woods, and many were unsettled by its expressions, and no one knows what had happened, but are sure it was a Bigfoot. What do you think it was? White Lady. Hidden deep within Florida's Ocala National Forest, a trail camera recorded a pale figure standing perfectly still between two trees during the night. Long dark hair concealed most of its face, while its body reflected enough light to make the nearby forest appear strangely washed out. It never took a single step or changed position throughout the recording, simply remaining there in complete silence. Local folklore has long spoken of the White Lady, a ghostly figure said to appear before tragedy or misfortune. Whether this footage captured an old legend or something else entirely remains unknown, but few people would willingly return to that exact location after seeing it. Strange capture. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, one hunter placed a trail camera expecting to capture jaguars, tapirs, or other wildlife roaming after dark. Instead, the footage revealed something far stranger. A bald head slowly appeared from behind a tree, its dark eyes fixed directly on the camera as though it understood exactly what it was looking at. After several silent seconds, it withdrew back into the forest without exposing the rest of its body. The Amazon remains one of the least explored places on Earth, with countless species still undiscovered, but whatever appeared on that camera looked unlike anything officially documented. Giant captured. A hike through the rugged mountains of Mexico took a chilling turn when one explorer noticed movement inside a cave overlooking the valley. At first, it looked like nothing more than shifting shadows, but moments later, a towering humanoid figure stepped into view. It remained perfectly still near the cave entrance, appearing far larger than any ordinary person, even from hundreds of feet away. Throughout Mexican folklore, remote mountains have long been linked to stories of hidden giants and ancient beings. Whether the figure was an illusion of distance or something far stranger, the footage quickly reignited those old legends. Tree climber. After discovering deep claw marks carved into trees bordering his property in Arizona, one homeowner decided to install a camera to identify whatever had been leaving them behind. The footage revealed a tall creature calmly approaching one of the scarred trunks before turning to look directly into the lens. Seconds later, it gripped the bark and climbed upward with startling speed, moving effortlessly where most animals would struggle. Halfway up, it stopped and stared back toward the camera without moving. That single pause unsettled the homeowner more than the climb itself, and he has reportedly avoided that part of his property after sunset ever since. Winged percher. A trail camera hidden deep in the forests near Sipsey, Tennessee, recorded something that didn't resemble any documented wildlife in the region. Perched silently in the branches was a strange creature whose lower legs appeared almost human, ending not in feet but in sharp, bird-like talons gripping the wood. The rest of its body was covered in dark feathers, with a large pair of folded wings resting against its back. It remained motionless, staring directly into the camera for several long seconds before suddenly spreading its wings in one powerful motion, as if preparing to take flight but never quite leaving the branch. Wildlife officials reportedly searched the surrounding forest but found no feathers, tracks, or evidence explaining what the trail camera had captured. Some viewers even compared it to old legends of owl-like humanoids reported throughout the Appalachian region, where stories of winged beings have circulated for generations. Tennessee creature. At first, it looked like a tree, but once the camera zoomed in, it was obvious that that was no tree. This figure eerily stood at one spot and made no movement whatsoever. Maybe it was aware of the person and was trying to blend in with its environment.
See that thing right there? It's creeping me out. I lived here for going on 7 years.
Interestingly, the tree creature didn't seem to move and remained stationary until it was seen changing its direction. Is there something haunted in the woods, or what? In any case, that creature looked ominous and was given the name Tennessee creature.
It's got a funny head shape. It wasn't here earlier. Yeah, no, it's not a stump.
Floating head spotted. Deep in the rainforests of Sumatra, one man found himself staring at something that simply should not have existed. Suspended among the trees was what appeared to be a human head, with no visible body beneath it. Wild, tangled hair framed an expression that remained fixed as glowing eyes stared directly back at him without blinking. Frozen in place, he could do nothing while his friend quietly recorded the encounter from behind. When local elders later watched the footage, many immediately identified it as Palasik, a feared figure from Indonesian folklore said to wander the forests after dark. Whether legend or something entirely different, it's the kind of sight few people would ever want to experience for themselves. Hanging figure. Searching for missing livestock inside Sajangar Wildlife Sanctuary in India, a group of friends followed an eerie creaking sound echoing through the trees. There was no wind that night, yet something high above them continued to sway. Their flashlights finally found the source, a pale figure hanging from what appeared to be a rope stretched between the branches. Its unnaturally long arms dangled beneath it, as the body rocked gently back and forth in perfect rhythm with the creaking overhead. Then the figure slowly turned its head toward them. That single movement was enough. Every member of the group immediately ran, abandoning the search and refusing to return to that part of the forest after nightfall. Farm intruder. For weeks, an elderly woman living on a remote farm in Mexico noticed something slipping through her fields after dark. Neighbors described a pale, hairless figure with oversized hands, pointed ears, and an unnaturally thin frame moving silently between the fences. Instead of abandoning her crops, she decided to confront it. Armed with nothing more than a wooden stick, she waited until the figure returned and struck the moment it came within reach. A brief struggle followed as the creature fought to break free before finally retreating into the darkness. According to locals, it was never seen on that property again. Rural communities across Mexico have passed down stories of strange nighttime visitors for generations, making the encounter feel unsettlingly familiar. Forest pursuer. A nighttime exploration near the forest surrounding Loch Ness, Scotland, took an unexpected turn when a group of vloggers noticed movement among the trees.
You think that was a coyote? What do you think that was? What was it? Do you see it where?
Standing upright was a tall figure covered in thick black fur, its unusually long arms bending at angles that didn't resemble any known animal.
Whoa! Holy crap.
As it slowly turned toward the group, its eyes reflected the light just long enough to send everyone into a panic. Their local guide later remarked that the description closely matched reports of the mysterious rake.
Holy...
A creature often linked to isolated woodland encounters. Whether folklore or something else entirely, no one filming stayed long enough to investigate further.
Holy...
Abandoned house. A night of exploring the forests of Transylvania, Romania, forced one adventurer to search for shelter before darkness completely took over. Hidden among the trees, he came across an abandoned house that looked untouched for decades.
Criatura das trevas, eu ordeno que você apareça!
At first, it looked like a man standing in the shadows, but as the light reached it, pale gray skin and glowing eyes stared back. Transylvania has been surrounded by chilling folklore for centuries, and whatever stood inside that house convinced the explorer to run without looking back until he reached the safety of the main road. Campground watcher. A peaceful camping trip became something far more unsettling after a woman heard strange noises outside her tent late at night.
And then an intro. I just don't know. Nothing's really happening. I'm scared. I'm not scared. I'm nervous, but...
Carrying only a flashlight, she walked into the darkness, unknowingly leaving her camera recording behind. During her absence, a pale figure quietly emerged from the bushes, lingering just long enough to be captured before slipping away again. Seconds after she returned, hurried footsteps echoed through the surrounding forest, as though something had narrowly escaped being discovered. Then, hidden behind thick branches, the same figure appeared once more, silently watching her before the recording ended without explanation. Many wilderness experts recommend never camping alone in unfamiliar forests, and clips like this explain exactly why.
I'm hearing noises, dude. I don't know if it's clicking. I can't hear it. It's like a low.
Colorado encounter. Lost in the dense forests of Colorado during 2011, one explorer spent hours searching for the trail that would lead him back to his vehicle. As daylight began fading, something suddenly stepped from behind a nearby tree. The figure had an oversized head, deeply sunken eyes, and facial features unlike anything the explorer recognized. Before he could react, it grabbed the camera directly from his hands. According to the story surrounding the footage, the explorer was never seen again, leaving behind one of the internet's most unsettling wilderness mysteries. Shadow in the woods. A couple hiking through the remote Emerson Woods realized too late they had wandered far beyond the marked trail. As they searched for a way back, they noticed a dark figure standing silently between the trees. Its outline appeared strangely transparent, almost blending into the forest itself.
Over there, look, over there. You see that?
What the
The moment they raised their camera, the figure suddenly rushed toward them, followed by a deep roar echoing through the woods.
That's not an animal. I don't like it.
Okay, fuck.
The recording ended in chaos as they fled. According to the story attached to the footage, search teams later recovered only their abandoned camera, while the couple themselves were never located. Whether fact or internet legend, the story continues to circulate as one of the most disturbing alleged disappearances connected to unexplained forest encounters.
I don't like it.
Okay, fuck.
Forest strangers. An afternoon hunt inside Sam Houston National Forest in Texas took an unexpected turn when a hunter heard what sounded like two voices arguing somewhere in the brush nearby. Curious, he stayed perfectly still until two small figures stepped into view. Standing barely a few feet tall, they had pointed ears, bulging eyes, and an unusual greenish complexion, unlike any wildlife found in the region.
Dando duro, ¿por qué se estarán peleando?
They seemed completely unaware of the hunter, continuing their strange argument before abruptly disappearing back into the undergrowth. Sam Houston National Forest covers more than 160,000 acres, making it one of Texas's largest forests and a place where unexplained sightings have occasionally surfaced over the years.
Parecen duendes.
Creepy clown. A Pennsylvania local had mounted a trail camera near his house so that he could observe animal behavior, but what he actually caught was bone-chilling. The clown noticed the camera and made sure he was being recorded because he wanted to scare the locals and quite possibly even send out a warning not to come to his area. Many people were left horrified, and after the scary incident, the clown was never seen again. Ghost animal. A man, while driving through a forest at midnight, discovered an unusual entity walking just a few meters ahead. Its lower body was similar to that of a wild boar, with a wide neck having black and white stripes similar to a zebra. This unidentified creature was carrying away what looked to be a similar-sized wild feline predator in its mouth. The whole atmosphere was super creepy, and its body language gave a threatening vibe. It puzzled the recorder, as he claimed to have never seen something like it. Massive Bigfoot. This trail camera captured a huge Bigfoot that was at least 7 feet tall, and it is being called the most convincing footage of the elusive creature after Paul Freeman's video. The Bigfoot was massive in size, and the trail cam was set up just a few yards away from this person's home. Netizens said it could be someone in a costume, but others disagreed because of how real and natural it looked. Sasquatch footage. At Eel River Beach, a man was enjoying the sun and surf when he spotted something strange coming out of the water. It wasn't a swimmer or a surfer, but a massive, hairy Sasquatch standing almost 10 feet tall. The beast moved with a slouched back, its body covered in thick hair. It lumbered across the sandy shore before the video ended. Because of how weird this video is, the cameraman is convinced it was a Sasquatch. Mythical bird. A local was out gathering firewood in a forest near Chiang Rai, Thailand, when he spotted a strange bird resting on a low branch ahead. Its feathers looked dark at first, folded neatly along its body, with a sharp beak. The moment it sensed him nearby, everything changed. Its wings burst into a bright, glowing orange, lighting up the branch beneath it before it lifted off into the night sky. Trailing light behind it. Stunned, he later described the bird to elders, who told him he had witnessed a koko, a fire spirit bird from old legend. Valley giant. A wildlife photographer was hiking through the hills near Bozeman, Montana, when he stopped and looked down into the valley below. Among the pines stood a massive humanoid figure, easily twice the size of an ordinary man, with long tangled hair falling past his shoulders and a rough animal hide wrapped around his waist. Beside him stood another strange-looking humanoid, calm and unbothered. The man zoomed in with his camera, stunned by what he was seeing. He had heard stories about giants roaming the earth, and he became certain that he had just seen a Nephilim. Grazing unicorn. On the 29th of July, 2019, a woman was hiking one Sunday through the hills in Snowdonia National Park, Wales, when she spotted a wild white horse grazing quietly on the slope below. She turned on her camera and zoomed in as far as she could, expecting nothing more than a shot for her YouTube channel. What she saw instead left her speechless. A long spiraled horn stretched out from the center of its forehead. She stayed still, watching in disbelief as she saw a real unicorn. Lizardmen. A man was exploring the rainforest along the Amazon River in Peru when he spotted something bone-chilling near a muddy creek bend. A tall, dark figure rose out of the murky water, its body slick and ridged with bony spikes running straight down its back like a dinosaur's tail. Standing upright on two legs, it turned slightly, revealing a hunched, muscular frame, more human than animal. The moment it sensed him watching, it slipped back beneath the surface without a splash. Shaken, he later described it to locals, who told him he'd likely seen a lizardman. Herd of centaurs. This clip was shared by one of our subscribers, retrieved from an old hard drive that once belonged to his grandfather. The footage looked grainy, showing a group of figures moving through a dusty open field somewhere in Inner Mongolia, walking calmly like they owned the land. At first, it looked like riders on horseback, but zooming in closer changed everything. There were no separate horses at all. Each figure's human torso rose directly from a horse's body, moving together as one. Stunned, he realized his grandfather had somehow filmed a herd of real centaurs decades ago. Caged duende. A farmer living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, had grown fed up after weeks of unexplained crop damage across his fields. One morning, he finally found the source waiting in one of his traps. Inside a small metal cage sat a tiny humanoid figure.
Me creyó, pero aquí está, mírenlo bien. Todito me costó, pero ya es mío. Respira, se mueve.
Barely 6 inches tall, with wrinkled grayish skin, thin clawed fingers wrapped around the bars, and wide dark eyes resembling the description of a mythical creature, a duende. Stunned by what he'd caught, the farmer handed it over to the authorities. Mine fairies. Back in 2023, a young boy exploring a mine outside Houston, Texas, stumbled onto something that looked more like a dream than anything real. Deep in the dark, Three tiny winged creatures were glowing a soft blue, their small bodies barely bigger than his hand, with thin wings that pulsed light every time they moved.
Wih, itu datang lagi satu. Ada berapa itu? Banyak banget.
Their heads looked oddly human, faces sharp and glowing faintly beneath the same eerie light. Instead of running, he stayed and slowly earned their trust. Now they followed him every time he returned to the mine, almost like they were searching for something buried beneath the dirt. Kitsune. A man living near Kisatchie National Forest, Louisiana, went in alone late one night, searching for his missing dog. Deep in the dark, his flashlight caught something strange staring back at him. A fox-like creature with pure pale white fur, but trailing behind it were 6 thin tails. As he got closer, it bolted, and he chased after it through the trees, but it moved too fast and vanished completely into the darkness. He never found his dog that night, but he remembered a story his grandfather once told him and became convinced he had seen a kitsune. Kraken sighting. On the 6th of November, 2016, a Navy guard on duty at a lighthouse near Reykjavik, Iceland, spotted something strange resting on an ice floe. A dark, bulbous shape sat low against the white ice, with thick tentacles stretching out and shifting slowly from side to side. Knowing nobody would believe him without proof, he grabbed his camera and filmed it. Curious, he later shared the clip on Instagram, where one commenter suggested it might be a real kraken, the sea beast responsible for sinking ships. Three-headed guardian. Two friends were hiking in the Guadalupe Mountains of Texas when a strange growling sound stopped them in their tracks. They followed it to a rocky cave entrance and froze at what they saw chained inside, a dark, muscular beast with 3 snarling heads. Thick chains were wrapped around each of its necks. Its middle head was fixed on them, while the other 2 looked in different directions, as if guarding something deep inside the cave. One of them remembered old myths about a 3-headed hound and was sure they had found Cerberus, the guardian of the underworld. Massive forest beast. A hunter was moving through Kibale Forest in Uganda, tracking deer before sunset, when a rustling ahead stopped him in his tracks. Stepping out from the trees was a massive creature, its body thick with dark, muscular fur, standing upright on 2 powerful legs, like a gorilla but far larger than any he had ever seen. It moved forward with heavy, deliberate strides. Shaken, he stayed silent to avoid its attention. Curious, he shared the clip on Instagram, where viewers dismissed it as an AI-generated video. Giant dragonet. If you think dragons don't exist in reality, this clip might change your mind. A tourist visiting the Liao River Valley in China was taking in the view when he noticed something massive resting on the open grass below. Its long, scaled body stretched far across the field, with wings folded against its sides and a curved neck raised slightly above the ground. Grazing animals nearby looked almost tiny beside it. He showed the clip to locals, who later said it matched old descriptions of a dragonet, a dragon from Chinese mythology. White dragon. An anonymous user on Instagram shared a strange clip showing a dark-robed figure seated atop a massive white-winged creature in an open field, calm and controlled like it had been tamed. Weeks later, on the 28th of June, 2025, a hiker in a forest near Ashland, Oregon, filmed something similar. Down in the valley below stood the same pale, scaled creature, wings folded at its sides, while 2 human figures moved calmly around it. Viewers were convinced this wasn't a coincidence, but real footage of a white dragon being trained. Terrifying encounter. On the 3rd of March, back in 2021, a man camping near Congaree National Forest, South Carolina, jolted awake after hearing a horrifying sound echoing through the woods. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out of his. A chill ran down his spine as the beam landed on something walking between the trees. It was tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in dark fur. He backed away slowly, convinced he'd just come face to face with a real Bigfoot. Gremlin. A nature photographer exploring a wooded trail in Ocala National Forest, Florida, noticed something unusual perched high on a tree branch. At first glance, it looked like a bat, but as he zoomed in, he was left stunned. Its wings were dark and leathery, folded tightly against a small, wiry body covered in patches of fur. Its face was narrow, almost human-like, with large pointed ears standing straight up. It clung to the branch with long clawed feet, remaining perfectly still as it watched him. The longer he stared at the strange creature, the more it reminded him of the mythical gremlins he had once heard about in old folklore. Mysterious sea creature. A man was kayaking off the coast near Key West, Florida, when he noticed something massive moving beneath his kayak. Curious, he dipped his camera underwater to get a better look and froze at what he saw. A dark, elongated shape stretched far longer than his kayak, its body smooth and pale blue, fading into the deep before he could make out its head or tail. Too big to be any normal fish he'd ever heard of, he later told friends he was sure he'd caught a glimpse of the Leviathan, the sea beast spoken of in old myths. Chupacabra. In a small village near Oaxaca, Mexico, locals had lost several goats and chickens over the past month and finally cornered the creature responsible. It crouched low, baring sharp teeth and snapping at anyone who came close, its body striped in deep red and orange, with a bright feathered crest running down its neck and head. Villagers had never seen an animal marked this way before. After capturing it, elders recognized the pattern from old stories and declared it was the chupacabra, finally caught after years of blamed losses. Five-headed serpent. In a small village near Varanasi, India, residents gathered outside a home after hearing about a mysterious creature. A massive snake slithered out, with a thick, patterned body and 5 separate hoods raised together, as if it were watching from every direction at once. The locals stood back in disbelief and took pictures instead of moving closer. Elders who saw it said they had no doubt. This was Sheshnag, the mythical 5-headed serpent known in ancient stories for generations. Real dragon. A man was filming a stormy sky over Tulsa, Oklahoma, hoping to catch some lightning when a dark winged shape crossed his lens, gliding high above the clouds with a long tail and bat-like wings before vanishing into the storm. Days later, authorities searching the nearby Ozark mountains found something that connected it all. A massive carcass lying on the dirt, scaled and clawed, its skull lined with jagged teeth and ridges. Many believe this was the same creature caught flying days earlier, now finally fallen. And to them, it confirmed the dragon had been real all along. Forest horror. 2 friends were exploring a dense forest in Sarawak, Malaysia, when they heard heavy footsteps crashing through the trees behind them. Something huge was closing in fast. Panicked, they scrambled up the nearest trees and clung to the branches, hearts pounding. Below them, a massive dark shape moved through the thick bushes, its body covered in shaggy fur, easily taller than any man. It paced beneath the tree for a while, before finally moving off. Shaking, they kept filming the whole time and later said they were certain they had just escaped a real Sasquatch. Forest guardian. A man was jogging along a trail in Olympic National Park, Washington, when he suddenly heard a strange creaking sound coming from the woods nearby. He stopped and pulled out his camera. Peering out from behind a thick tree trunk was a face unlike anything he'd seen, wrinkled bark-like skin, moss clinging to antlers growing from its head, and long root-like strands hanging past its chin. It stared at him without blinking, almost warning him to turn back. Later, he showed the clip to his grandfather, who claimed that it might be a mandrake, a mythical forest guardian. Wyvern in the brush. On the 7th of March 2023, a group of university students was exploring the forest in Missoula, Montana, when they noticed strange movement in the valley below. Hoping to catch an elk on camera, they zoomed in instead on something far stranger. A massive creature was walking through the brush, its long neck stretched high above the treetops. Leathery wings folded against its scaled body and a sharp-beaked head snapping side to side. It moved between the pines with heavy, deliberate steps. Stunned, the students later agreed they had filmed a real wyvern. Waking stone giant. A man was exploring the mountains near Sedona, Arizona, when a strange rock formation caught his eye. From a distance, it looked almost human. A massive figure seated against the slope, with what looked like arms resting at its sides. He started filming, thinking it was just an odd shape carved by wind and time. Then dust began rising off its surface, and its hands shifted slightly. Startled, he stepped back and left, wondering for days what if it was a petrified giant slowly waking up. Hippogriff. A woman was visiting a small farm in the Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia, when she wandered past a fenced pen and stopped cold. Standing inside was a horse-like animal with a sleek, dark body and thick mane, but its head was nothing like a horse's at all.
Seen anything like it before. Is that a horse with a bird's head?
A sharp, curved beak jutted out, and its round eyes sat wide and yellow, blinking slowly at the gathered crowd. It let out a strange, screeching sound, nothing like a whinny. Onlookers whispered it looked mutated, resembling a hippogriff, a mythical creature. Pond dweller. A man was camping near a forest pond outside Chiang Mai, Thailand, and walked down early one morning to fill his water bottle. What he saw crouched at the water's edge left him with his jaw dropped. A thin, bony creature perched low on the rocks, its skin pale and wrinkled, long pointy ears standing straight up, and a wispy white beard hanging from its chin. It scooped water into its clawed hand and drank quietly, unaware it was being watched. When it finally noticed him, it froze for a second before darting off into the trees, leaving him too stunned to move. If you have any idea what the creature was, then write it down in the comments section. Dogman. A logger was working in Kootenai National Forest, Montana, when he noticed movement near the trees. He saw a gray-furred creature standing on two legs and scratching deep marks into the bark of a tall pine. Its body looked lean but strong, and it leaned forward as if marking its territory.
Oh my God, it's really doing it.
The logger froze for a moment, then decided to leave. He quietly backed away, leaving his equipment behind because he was sure that it was a dogman said to prey on humans. Griffin sighting. Something about the shape moving through the bare trees made a wildlife researcher stop mid-step in Zhangjiakou Forest, China. He was studying local bird populations when a strange creature crossed the path ahead. Its upper body carried thick brown feathers and folded wings like a hawk, but below the waist ran two long, slender legs ending in a thin, tufted tail resembling a lion. Confused, he shared the clip with one of his cryptozoologist friends, who identified it as a griffin. Werewolf. After losing one of his sheep, a farmer near Wichita, Kansas, sat down to review his barn's CCTV footage and felt unsettled by what appeared on screen. A large creature crouched low on all fours inside the pen, its body covered in thick dark fur, but its front limbs looked disturbingly human, long arms with bent joints. It let out a sharp snarl before scrambling away into the darkness. Watching it back twice to be sure, he became convinced he was looking at a real werewolf and called the authorities right after. Tiny aliens. A woman shared this clip on Instagram, and it left viewers completely stunned. She said she had first noticed a few small, pale creatures gathered at the base of a large tree in the forest near her home outside Manaus, Brazil, months earlier. In this latest footage, they had grown noticeably bigger. She claimed she had been feeding them out of curiosity, unaware of how quickly they would change. Slenderman. There had been rumors about a strange figure haunting tourists in Nome Forest, Estonia, so one man decided to see it for himself. Walking deep between the birch trees, he stopped when he spotted something tall and impossibly thin standing motionless ahead. Its skin looked gray and smooth.
Oh my God, stay quiet, stay quiet.
Stretched over an unnaturally long body with no face he could make out. Then its arm-like limbs began stretching outward, twisting slowly like tree roots. Terrified, he didn't move until it slipped behind a tree. Curious, he searched online and found that its description matched Slenderman. But what do you think? River Guardian. On the 9th of March, 2024, a fisherman walked along the Kinu River in Japan and could not believe what he spotted standing near the bank. A creature stood upright on two legs, its skin green and scaly like a turtle's shell, a hunched, shell-like back visible beneath a wrapped cloth around its neck. Its long clawed hands hung low at its sides as it stared quietly toward the water. The moment it noticed him stepping closer, It turned sharply and leapt into the river, vanishing beneath the surface. Later, he showed the clip to authorities who identified it as Kappa, a mythical creature. Pegasus. A wildlife ranger patrolling the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania noticed something standing alone near a lone acacia tree. It was a pure white horse, its coat almost glowing under the sun, but resting against its back were two massive feathered wings, folded tightly at its sides. Before he could get closer, it suddenly spread its wings wide and lifted off the ground, disappearing into the sky. He shared the clip online out of curiosity, and viewers quickly identified it as Pegasus, the mythical winged horse. River siren. A man was standing along the banks of the Amur River in Russia, casting his line out and hoping for a good catch, when the water ahead of him suddenly began splashing hard. Thinking he'd hooked something big, he grabbed his camera instead. A dark tail broke the surface first, thrashing briefly. Then, for just a split second, a pale, human-like head rose from the water before slipping back beneath the surface completely. He stood frozen, unsure whether it was a siren or something far more mysterious. Terrifying winged creature. A tourist staying at a hotel near Rabat, Morocco, was filming a heavy afternoon storm rolling in from the sea when something dark caught his eye against the grey sky. He kept the camera locked on it as the shape slowly took a terrifying shape. Two massive wings stretched outward, dark and jagged, hovering there like something enormous was revealing itself through the mist. He stayed frozen, filming the whole thing until it faded back into the storm clouds. He later shared the clip online, though one commenter dismissed it as nothing more than a clever hoax. Merman. A man was walking through a forest along Lake Toba, Indonesia, when a strange sound pulled his attention toward the water's edge. Following it, he stopped cold at what he saw, resting on a large boulder. A creature lay sprawled there with a thick, fin-like tail curling behind it. And its upper body pale green and human-like, topped with an oddly shaped head. It moved in short, jerky bursts, shifting its limbs as if it did not want to be filmed. Watching from a distance, he became convinced that it was a real merman. Shape in the fog. One Saturday morning, back in 2022, a tourist visiting a foggy beach near Busan, South Korea, noticed something dark moving far out in the sea. He turned on his camera and kept it steady, waiting to see what it was. Slowly, a massive creature rose out of the water, a wide hood flaring out around its upper body while the rest stayed submerged, a long tail visible trailing behind it through the mist. It stood there motionless for a moment before sinking back beneath the waves. Shaken, he shared with one of his marine biologist friends, who claimed that its appearance resembled a mythical being, Naga. Winged lion. A man was hiking through the Wind River Range, Wyoming, one morning when he noticed something moving along the ridge above the snowline. He raised his camera and stayed still, watching a massive lion-like creature walk slowly across the slope.
Keep.
Thick wings folded loosely at its sides and a long tail curling behind it with every step. It never turned toward him, moving with a strange calm confidence across the mountain. He backed away quietly, not wanting to draw its attention. Later, he told his friends he was certain he'd filmed a real manticore. Mysterious cornfield visitor. A farmer was checking his cornfield one Sunday morning near Bogota, Colombia, unaware of what was about to cross his path. Stepping between the tall stalks was a small, wrinkled creature, its skin dry and grayish, with oversized pointy ears standing high and thin bony limbs moving carefully through the field.
No para quieto. Lleva días viniendo. Yo sabía que algo raro estaba pasando.
It was glancing side to side like it was searching for something buried there. The farmer stayed frozen, too stunned to move closer. Later, he showed the video to his grandfather, who identified it as a mythical creature, a goblin. Police escorted Shishaka. In a small village near Cusco, Peru, locals had grown fed up after months of missing livestock. and finally reported the culprit to authorities. Police arrived and captured the creature responsible, walking it through the town square with its hands restrained on either side. Its body was covered in dark, ragged feathers, with a hunched, human-like frame but a face far from human, wrinkled skin, sunken eyes, and a long, curved beak jutting out where a nose should be. Villagers watched in shock and called it a sheshaka, a bird spirit blamed for livestock losses for generations. Ahul. A woman visiting the San Diego Zoo in California stopped in front of one of the enclosures and started filming after hearing an eerie screeching sound from inside. Behind the thick glass, a strange creature was trapped, its body covered in dark fur with large leathery wings stretched wide, and its face sharp and bat-like with pointy ears. It jumped and flapped against the glass, letting out sharp cries that echoed through the hallway. When she asked staff about it, the management claimed it was an ahul, captured in the Appalachian Mountains. Open discussion. A man was camping alone in Coconino National Forest, Arizona, when he heard a strange rustling sound above his tent. Grabbing his flashlight, he pointed the beam up into the branches and spotted a large bird perched silently on a limb, its dark feathers trailing long and thin behind it. The moment the light hit it, the bird noticed him and spread its wings wide. Its whole body burst into a glowing orange light before it flew in the dark sky. Shaken, he remembered old stories and realized he had just seen a real phoenix. Garden Duende. An old home video reportedly filmed in 1993 continues to puzzle viewers more than 3 decades later. Hidden among the plants in a quiet backyard garden, a tiny furry figure suddenly darted out from behind a flower pot before sprinting toward a hollow tree and disappearing inside. The entire encounter lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to fuel years of debate. Many people linked the figure to the duende, a legendary being from Latin American folklore said to inhabit gardens, forests, and forgotten places. Others argued it was simply an unusually small person captured from a misleading angle. Resting mermaid. This was captured along the coastline of Scotland, took an unforgettable turn when fishermen unloading their catch noticed something illuminated by the deck lights. Resting on a rock just above the tide was a pale, scaled creature, unlike anything they had seen before. Its lower body ended in a shimmering tail, while the upper half appeared strikingly human, with long blonde hair blowing in the sea breeze. None of the crew dared approach too closely, choosing instead to watch from the safety of their boat. By sunrise, the rock was completely empty. Scotland's coastline has inspired stories of mysterious sea beings for centuries, from selkies to mermaids, and sightings like this continue to keep those old legends alive. Shocking footage. Deep within a forest in Montana, a curious witness decided to follow a small figure that had briefly appeared between the trees on April 21, 2026. The decision led to one of the strangest scenes caught on camera that year. Hidden in a clearing were several tiny humanoid figures gathered in a tight circle, moving in perfect synchronization as though taking part in some kind of ritual.
Parece un ritual. No deberíamos estar viendo esto.
Their proportions resembled neither children nor adults, and their stiff, coordinated movements unsettled nearly everyone who watched the footage. Viewers compared them to goblins, dwarfs, and other creatures from folklore.
Parece un ritual. No deberíamos estar viendo esto.
Hairless primate. Strange screeching echoed across a remote property in Wisconsin, eventually convincing a ranch owner to investigate what was hiding inside the thick brush. Expecting to find an injured animal, he instead came face to face with a hairless creature resembling a small primate. Its pale skin, unusually long limbs, and piercing cries were unlike anything he had encountered before. Realizing what he was seeing, he immediately began recording. The footage later spread online, but wildlife specialists never publicly identified the animal. Wisconsin's forests are home to black bears, wolves, and countless other species, yet nothing officially documented resembles the creature captured in this recording. Fishing creatures. An early morning walk along a quiet beach in Chile took an unexpected turn on March 30th, 2026, when a couple noticed several small figures gathered along the shoreline. At first glance, they resembled monkeys, but something immediately felt wrong. They had no visible tails, their posture was unusually upright, and they moved with remarkable coordination. Together, the group appeared to be hauling an unexpectedly large fish from the water, working almost as though each creature understood its exact role. Their synchronized movements fascinated viewers after the footage spread online, with many wondering whether the clip had captured an unknown species displaying behavior rarely seen in the wild. Swamp family. Just outside Mexico City, people crossing a remote stretch of muddy countryside noticed movement where nothing should have been. Several humanoid figures slowly emerged through the swamp, each noticeably different in height and build.
Son duendes.
Rather than scattering after being spotted, they continued moving together as though the people filming simply didn't matter. Their different sizes led many viewers to wonder if they were looking at a family group instead of isolated creatures. The footage spread rapidly online, dividing opinion between an elaborate hoax, an undiscovered species, and something far more difficult to explain. What do you think? Comment down below. More swamp creatures. A quiet morning near the wetlands of Idaho turned into something unforgettable on March 9, 2026, when a local resident spotted dozens of dark figures gliding through the water together. Their long, slender bodies moved with surprising speed, while unusually long fingers tipped with web-like skin broke the surface with every stroke. The creatures lingered for several minutes, almost appearing to watch the shoreline before disappearing into thick vegetation. Idaho's wetlands support amphibians, otters, and countless aquatic species, yet none resemble the strange beings captured in the footage. Bell Tower Beast. A peaceful afternoon in rural Guatemala was interrupted when villagers noticed something perched high inside the bell tower of their local church. As more people gathered below, they realized the figure possessed large folded wings and remained completely motionless among the old bells. From the ground, no one could agree on exactly what they were looking at. Some insisted it resembled a gargoyle brought to life, while others believed it matched darker legends passed down through generations. Even after the creature disappeared, many locals reportedly avoided the church tower altogether. Old churches across Central America have long been surrounded by folklore, making sightings like this especially unsettling for nearby communities. Creatures inside well. Exploring an old concrete water well in the desert hills of Colorado, one person made a discovery that immediately stopped them from climbing any closer. At the bottom of the empty well sat several small humanoid figures gathered tightly together, appearing almost as though they had been hiding there. Their appearance closely matched traditional descriptions of duendes, legendary beings often associated with caves, forests, and abandoned places throughout Latin American folklore. Pale mystery. Residents in a rural part of Nicaragua gathered around a strange pale creature found lying in thick mud between old brick walls, hairless and curled tightly into itself. The figure appeared to combine human and animal features, with unusually thin limbs wrapped around its body, as though trying to protect itself. The small crowd kept a cautious distance, watching only as faint tremors suggested it was still alive.
¡Ay, Dios, es un duende! ¡Lo sabíamos!
Virgen Santa. No se mueve.
According to witnesses, the creature stopped moving a short time later before being removed from the area. While the footage quickly spread across the internet, many viewers questioned its authenticity, arguing it looked staged. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know.
¡Ay, Dios, es un duende! ¡Lo sabíamos!
Virgen Santa. No se mueve.
Humanoid with antlers. Driving through the wide-open highways of Wyoming, a couple noticed a motionless figure standing directly in the middle of the interstate. It wasn't built like a deer, elk, or any other animal native to the region.
Wanna fight?
The silhouette looked disturbingly human, remaining perfectly still as the vehicle rolled closer. Then everything changed. A loud, unsettling sound echoed across the empty road as the figure suddenly lunged toward the car, revealing what appeared to be massive antlers extending from its head.
You wanna go, bud?
The recording ended immediately afterward, leaving viewers with no indication of how the encounter finished. Duende at doorstep. Late on the night of November 11th, 2025, a homeowner in the Philippines reviewed doorbell camera footage after hearing unusual activity outside. Standing near the entrance was a small figure facing two stray cats, which refused to approach as though sensing something unfamiliar. In another recording from a nearby camera, a similar figure appeared again, this time watched cautiously by both a kitten and a dog. Animals reacting to something unseen often fuels speculation during unexplained encounters, and this case was no different. Many viewers identified the mysterious visitor as a duende almost immediately. Never seen before. Gentle ripples began spreading across the water against the direction of the current, and seconds later, several pale figures surfaced together. They moved with perfect coordination, never separating as they drifted toward the boat. From a distance, their faces appeared disturbingly human.
Back up, back up.
But as they drew closer, another detail became impossible to ignore. Glowing yellow eyes reflecting through the fading evening light. Before anyone could properly react, the group slipped beneath the surface in complete silence. Those on board reportedly remained anchored for nearly an hour afterward, unwilling to move until they were certain whatever had been watching them was truly gone.
Don't let him touch the rail. Keep filming, keep the light.
Fishing goblin. Fishing beside a remote river in Thailand, a couple noticed a small figure crouching silently near the water's edge. At first, they assumed it was another fisherman, but as they looked closer, the proportions seemed completely wrong. The tiny creature appeared focused on something in the mud until it suddenly realized it was being watched. Without hesitation, it sprinted toward the river and disappeared beneath the surface before either witness could move closer.
¿Nos vio? Sí. ¡Se tiró!
After the footage spread online, many viewers compared the strange figure to goblin-like beings from Southeast Asian folklore, while others questioned whether an undiscovered species had briefly wandered into view.
¿Nos vio? Sí. ¡Se tiró!
Amazonian guardian. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon, a video reportedly recorded during November 2025 reignited one of the region's oldest legends. Standing among the dense jungle vegetation was an upright figure with unusual proportions, closely matching descriptions of the Chulachaqui, a mysterious being from Amazonian folklore said to roam the forests of Ucayali. Indigenous stories describe it as a guardian of the jungle, capable of mimicking voices to lure travelers away from marked trails. While skeptics argued the footage showed a misidentified animal, no one has been able to explain exactly what the camera captured. Reptilian. In desert. Crossing the isolated deserts of New Mexico on April 25, 2026, a driver spotted something standing alone against the barren landscape. Curious, he slowed just long enough to begin recording. The figure appeared upright, with a slender frame and distinctly reptilian features unlike any desert animal officially documented in the region.
No, atrás, atrás. Demonios. Se va. Vámonos.
The American Southwest has long been linked to reports of unexplained creatures, particularly around its vast military ranges and remote wilderness, adding another layer of intrigue to the sighting. Whether it was an undiscovered animal, an elaborate hoax, or something else entirely, no official explanation has ever followed.
No, atrás, atrás. Demonios. Se va. Vámonos.
Unknown cryptid. A friendly indoor football game in Zacatecas, Mexico, unexpectedly produced footage that continues to circulate online. While recording the match, one of the children accidentally captured a small hooded figure quietly emerging from a nearby hallway. It crossed the room without making a sound before disappearing around a corner. Believing someone was playing a prank, the children immediately chased after it, only to discover the hallway completely empty. Local folklore throughout central Mexico includes countless stories of tiny humanoid beings said to appear around old buildings and remote villages. Midnight visitor. Father in Colombia rushed toward another room after hearing frightened cries from inside his home. Instead of finding an intruder he recognized, he came face to face with a tiny bearded figure standing silently in the room, barely taller than a child.
Déjalo. Vete.
The strange visitor had features that reminded witnesses of dwarfs or mythical forest elves described in regional folklore. Unsure how else to react, the man grabbed a flashlight and threw it toward the figure, startling it enough to send it running from the house. Although the encounter lasted only moments, it left the family convinced they had witnessed something that should never have been inside their home.
Tranquilo, mi amor. Ya, tranquilo.
River cryptid. While walking along a narrow riverbank in Corrientes Province, Argentina, on July 4, 2024, a witness noticed something unusual emerging from the shallow water. The small figure appeared hunched over, with what looked like folded wings or a strange growth rising from its back. Rather than reacting to the nearby observer, it remained focused on the water, occasionally turning its head as though searching for fish before quietly disappearing from sight. Chicken thieves. After losing chickens for weeks, a ranch owner outside Tijuana, Mexico, finally decided to investigate during early May 2026. Expecting to catch coyotes or other predators, he instead watched several strange primate-like figures emerge silently from the tree line. The creatures wandered around the empty chicken coop as though searching for food.
Eso es una gallina. La sacaron del corral. Uno se cayó.
Showing little concern that they were being watched by several people at once. They never acted aggressively and disappeared back into the trees as quietly as they had arrived.
Son duendes, los estoy viendo. Creo que no me han visto. Hey, dejen la gallina.
Glowing figure. A walk through the forests of California on April 18, 2026, ended with footage that continues to divide opinion online. Standing motionless between the trees was a faint glowing figure, with only its upper body clearly visible through the surrounding vegetation. It never approached or reacted to the witness, simply remaining perfectly still before gradually fading from view. Some viewers believed the shape resembled a spiritual apparition, while others suggested unusual lighting conditions or camera exposure could have produced the effect. Ghost haunting cemetery. Working the night shift at a cemetery in Colombia is unsettling enough without seeing something that shouldn't be there. On November 13, 2024, security guards reported witnessing what they described as the figure of a woman appearing near one of the graves before silently moving through the cemetery grounds. Their account was later featured by local media, bringing national attention to the incident. The guards insisted the encounter lasted only a few moments, but it left them shaken enough to publicly describe what they had seen. Although no similar reports have followed from the same cemetery, staff say the events of that night are still discussed whenever darkness falls over the grounds. Winged mystery. A group of hikers exploring a narrow forest trail stopped abruptly after spotting what looked like a large animal lying directly in their path. From a distance, it resembled a bird of prey, but the closer they got, the stranger it became. Its body was unusually long, and when it reacted, enormous wings unfolded that looked more like those of a bat than any bird. A loud hiss echoed through the trees as the creature partially spread its wings in warning, convincing everyone to keep their distance.
Did you see that?
The hikers chose to record the encounter rather than get any closer. While some viewers believed it showed an injured animal with a rare deformity, others argued its proportions didn't resemble any known species. Warehouse intruder. Employees working inside a rural grain warehouse in Mexico believed they were looking at a torn corn sack spilling onto the floor until something inside began moving. Slowly emerging from the opening was a tiny humanoid figure with wrinkled gray skin, unusually long limbs, and a head far too large for its body.
Graba, graba. Se metió adentro. Míralo, ahí se mueve.
It climbed onto the sack, stretched one impossibly thin arm toward the surrounding grain, then quietly disappeared back inside the pile.
Ya se quedó quieto.
Workers later admitted strange noises had echoed through the warehouse at night for years, but none had ever seen what was making them.
Graba, graba. Se metió adentro. Míralo, ahí se mueve.
Crawling on wall. An ordinary walk through a neighborhood became something far stranger when a man noticed an unusual creature scaling a concrete wall in broad daylight. It didn't crawl like a lizard, insect, or mammal. Instead, multiple legs moved in a smooth, coordinated rhythm, while a long tail swayed behind it with every step. Even more unsettling was how calmly it moved, showing no sign of panic despite being watched. Before the witness could zoom in for a closer look, the creature slipped behind the wall and vanished completely. Graveyard digger. A cemetery groundskeeper in Wichita, Kansas, after several graves were found disturbed without any obvious explanation. Hoping to catch whoever was responsible, a camera was set up overlooking the area. During the early hours of the morning, it captured a dark figure moving silently between the headstones. The shape appeared to stop beside multiple graves before disappearing into the darkness without leaving any clear trace. The footage quickly fueled speculation online, but no official explanation was ever given for what the camera recorded. Weird Texas creature. A resident in rural South Texas spotted something hanging upside down from a tree branch that looked unlike any animal he had ever seen. Large leathery wings wrapped around a thin body covered in wrinkled skin, but its face was what disturbed him most.
Está imitando una gallina.
It appeared almost human, with closed eyes, a sunken nose, and lips that didn't belong to any known species. The creature remained completely still as the surrounding woods fell strangely quiet. No wildlife agency has ever identified what was seen, leaving the footage open to endless debate. A cursed creature. A family in a quiet Colombian village thought someone was crawling across their roof late one night, but as the figure crept into the light, they realized it didn't move like any ordinary person. Long hair covered its face, while its limbs twisted unnaturally with every step. One family member grabbed a shovel and climbed up to confront it, expecting it to run. Instead, the figure stopped, slowly turned, and stared directly back before the recording ended, leaving the family with no explanation for what had crossed their roof. Coastal encounter. Marine researchers monitoring unusual disturbances along a quiet stretch of coastline spent several days tracking unexplained ripples before witnessing something break the surface. Rising from the water was a figure with distinctly human-like arms and a long, finned tail disappearing beneath the waves. Its face remained hidden as it turned away, diving moments later and sending a curtain of spray into the air. According to the story accompanying the footage, fishing activity in the area was later restricted while researchers continued monitoring the coastline. Although countless reports of mermaid-like creatures exist throughout maritime folklore, no scientific evidence has confirmed the existence of such beings, leaving sightings like this firmly in the realm of mystery. Mermaid Squad. Naval guards on routine patrol noticed several human-like heads rising and falling far out across calm water. At first, they struggled to identify what they were seeing. Some believed the figures resembled mermaids, while others suggested they could have been manatees, marine mammals that have historically inspired many mermaid legends because of their appearance from a distance. The figures remained visible just long enough to leave the crew puzzled before slipping beneath the surface one by one. By the time anyone attempted to move closer, the water had become completely still again, leaving behind only speculation. Deep water visitor. Crew members aboard a cruise ship were carrying out routine work in deep water when movement beside the hull drew their attention. A head briefly surfaced before disappearing beneath the waves, followed moments later by what appeared to be a long webbed tail. When it surfaced again, the tail seemed much longer than anyone had expected, vanishing beneath the water almost immediately. The unexpected encounter unsettled several crew members, some of whom reportedly avoided going back onto the open deck that night. Local stories refer to a mysterious creature known as the Memphis Mermaid, though no evidence has ever confirmed such a legend. Pale swimmer. Standing beside a quiet river, one man noticed a pale shape drifting just beneath the surface of the water. For several seconds, it remained clearly visible, moving steadily with the current, before slipping into darker water. It didn't resemble a fish, floating debris, or any aquatic animal he recognized. The elongated form stayed unusually close to the surface, almost as though it were intentionally visible before quietly disappearing. Convinced he had witnessed a mermaid-like creature, the witness later shared the footage, though no explanation has ever accounted for exactly what passed beneath the water that day. Sea pursuit. What started as a routine sea crossing turned unsettling when pale shapes broke the surface beside a fishing boat off the coast of Indonesia. At first, the crew thought they were watching large marine animals, but as the camera steadied, the figures appeared to reveal human-like torsos joined to long, scaled tails.
They're right behind us! I see them! Hold on! God, look at its face! Punch it!
The captain pushed the engine harder, expecting them to fall behind, yet the shapes reportedly kept pace with the boat.
Go! Go! They're coming up again! Hang on! Damn! It almost got the rail! Faster! More throttle! I'm hit!
Several surfaced close enough to the hull that the fishermen could be heard panicking. Whatever followed them that day has never been identified.
It's maxed out! They're falling
Keep
back!
going! Don't let up! Just hold course!
Bizarre clip. A man filming the coastline near a cluster of jagged rocks in the UK noticed something moving through a gap that seemed far too narrow for any large creature. A figure with a human-like upper body and a long tail drifted silently through while clutching what appeared to be an object. It slipped between the rocks without slowing, lingered for only a few seconds, then disappeared beneath the water. After the footage spread online, many viewers called it one of the most convincing alleged mermaid videos ever recorded. Mermaid caught? A routine fishing trip off the coast of Portugal reportedly took a bizarre turn when two fishermen hauled up something neither of them expected. Tangled in their gear was a creature with a fish-like lower body and a disturbingly human-looking face.
Watch it now! We got a bite! Ozark, push back, push back!
As it twisted violently and snapped with sharp-looking teeth, both men struggled to keep hold while shouting over one another.
Take, get it open! Go! Slam it! Hold it! Break it down! Relax there!
According to the people who shared the footage, the creature was released back into the water moments later. Whether the clip shows an unknown animal or something else remains a mystery.
Keep filming, man! You seeing this?
Send it to Paul, he's not gonna believe it.
Not a human female. People living along the shoreline of Kiryat Yam, Israel, have gathered at the beach just before sunset for one reason. Witnesses claimed a strange figure appeared on the rocks where the sea met the shore, looking like a young woman until the moment a long fish-like tail became visible.
Yeah, man, this is cool. Got a seal on the rock?
According to those who reported seeing it, the creature lingered only briefly, sometimes seeming to watch the crowd before slipping silently beneath the waves.
Oh my God! What is that?
One local, Shlomo Cohen, said he and his friends initially mistook it for a woman relaxing on the beach, until it suddenly dove into the water and revealed what looked unmistakably like a tail. Despite years of sightings and countless visitors hoping to witness it themselves, no explanation has ever settled the mystery. Riverbank apparition. A quiet walk along a Brazilian river unexpectedly turned into one of the country's most debated creature sightings. Standing motionless in the shallows was what first appeared to be a lone person, until the witness noticed there were no legs beneath the surface. Instead, a long shimmering tail caught the sunlight as the figure remained perfectly still, almost as if it had already noticed him. The witness never attempted to get closer. While some dismissed the footage as nothing more than someone wearing a costume, that explanation became harder to defend after a local fisherman claimed he encountered a nearly identical figure just days later. According to him, it disappeared upstream with a burst of speed that no swimmer could realistically match, reviving old river legends that many locals thought belonged only in folklore. The retrieval. An unidentified object washed onto a quiet beach in South Africa, but what happened next drew far more attention than the object itself. Several mermaid-like figures slowly gathered around it, remaining close enough to suggest they weren't investigating it. They were protecting it. Rather than fleeing from the shoreline, they stayed beside the object for several minutes, almost as though waiting for the rising tide. Then, as the water crept back in, the group began dragging it toward deeper water with surprising coordination. Within moments, both the object and every figure disappeared beneath the waves together. When the tide settled, the beach was completely empty, leaving behind no trace of whatever had been recovered. Bridge lurker. An evening walk across a coastal bridge near Lisbon ended with a sight few witnesses have been able to explain. Lying across the lower walkway was a pale creature whose body appeared human only from the waist up. Below it stretched a long fish-like tail where legs should have been.
Mujer. Es una mujer tan guapa ahí. Cabeza.
While its gaunt face carried features disturbingly close to a person's, it remained completely motionless for several minutes, almost as though it had become stranded after the tide receded.
Me estoy llamando.
Then, without warning, it lurched toward the railing and launched itself back into the sea below.
Hey.
Reports claim local authorities temporarily secured the area afterward, yet no animal matching the description was ever located.
¿Viste eso? ¿Viste la mujer que estaba ahí? Sí, sí, sí. No me grabes, dame la cámara.
Se fue.
Hillbilly stalker.
Woi, lagi santai kawan. Pakai.
During a camping trip in 2013, a group witnessed a strange black humanoid figure sitting in a tree, silently watching them from above. Its body was covered in black fur, and it had glowing eyes. The figure appeared to be covering its mouth with its hand, or possibly feeding on something. The forest reportedly fell numb silent before and during the sighting. No chirping, rustling, or even wind.
Dapat kawan baru na.
A phenomenon often cited in paranormal lore as a warning sign. A growing theory suggests it may have been a nocturnal subspecies of cryptid known as nightwalkers, smaller, tree-dwelling beings that feed on carrion or small animals. Reptilian-shaped mystery. Conspiracy theories claim that reptilians are one of the dominant species, and one of their members was recorded running outside a man's property. Reported in 2007, the footage showed a tall bipedal figure running awkwardly across the yard, with a massive oversized head and a hunched back clearly visible. The creature appeared to have a thick tail, and despite its size, it moved with unexpected speed and purpose, as if it didn't want to be seen. Many believe it could be a government or alien-created hybrid that escaped from an underground base or facility. Or it may have been caught mid-transformation between human and reptilian form. Crawling into mystery. During a scientific research tour of a remote island, a mysterious creature was spotted emerging from the water and crawling onto the land. Recorded in 2019, its body appeared mostly human-like, but its trailing lower limbs and movement resembled that of a reptile. It crawled onto the rocky shore, paused as if sensing the camera, then swiftly disappeared into the dense vegetation. No known marine or land animal matches its anatomy, not even mutated species. It showed no fear of land or water, suggesting it may be amphibious. Many social media users have linked the sighting to conspiracy theories about reptilian beings living underground or beneath oceans. Unseen but present. North American forests are believed to be home to a cryptid known as the Sasquatch, and in 2014, one was allegedly captured by a forest surveillance cam. The tall, hairy figure appeared to be scratching its back against a tree, and the movement was natural, not robotic or staged, suggesting a living being with mass and muscle. It was nearly 8 feet tall, far beyond average human height, and no footprints were found around the tree despite the soft forest ground. Due to its elusive nature, many paranormal researchers believe Sasquatch may possess interdimensional biology, fading in and out of physical reality at will. Cryptid in shadows.
Holy...
A group of adventurers were in the deep woods when they stumbled upon a figure walking alone in the dark. Footage from 2021 shows that it was unbothered by the group's presence and calmly walked away, suggesting it was either fearless or accustomed to humans. The group described it as a lizard man, a cryptid unknown to science, or a surviving prehistoric humanoid reptile. It was covered in pale, reptile-like skin, adapted for nocturnal movement, and exhibited unusual calmness and awareness, hinting at intelligence beyond that of animals. It might have been patrolling its territory, or searching for something lost or connected to its origins. Bigfoot sighting reported. While Bigfoot has not been officially recognized by science, numerous sightings support its existence, including this one recorded by an adventurer in 1999. The footage shows a large, bulky, brown-haired creature sitting calmly, unaware of being watched or recorded. The dense forest environment matches common Bigfoot sighting locations, which are often remote and rarely visited. Many believe Bigfoot might be a government-created or genetically engineered creature, accidentally or intentionally released. Authorities may fear mass hysteria or disruption of societal order if Bigfoot's existence were confirmed, yet over the years, sightings have been occurring more frequently. Dashcam cryptid encounter. While parking his car, a man claimed he witnessed a real-life dogman near his property as it walked into the dense forest. Captured by his dash cam in 2017, the humanoid figure, covered in thick hair, was walking on 2 legs. When the headlights illuminated its body, it appeared startled and quickly walked away, as if trying not to be seen. This reaction to light suggests an awareness of being watched, indicating intelligence. Experts couldn't identify it as any known animal species. Fueling cryptid speculation, Native American legends describe dogmen as cursed shamans turned beasts, and some say they're harbingers of tragedy. Clown watches camera. It is often hard to read a clown's emotions or true intentions, but one was captured on a trail camera whose presence seemed more sinister than ever. Reported in 2011, he appeared with a shovel and carrying a black bag, which he buried underground. Strangely, the clown seemed to notice the camera and stared directly into it, as if aware of being watched. No clown-related events were reported nearby, ruling out marketing stunts or parties. While many believe he was burying evidence or an artifact linked to past crimes or rituals, no incidents were reported at the time, making his true purpose unclear. Staring from darkness. Alaska in 2009 became the site of a mysterious entity sighting that many believe was demonic. A local hunter group reported that the figure never fully emerged, only its massive black face, partially obscured by thick brush, was visible, as if it were hiding deliberately. The eyes had clear pupils, and he mentioned it even blinked at one point. Some believe it was a low-level demon or forest spirit, manifesting physically to observe or intimidate. Its concealment suggests a predator-like intelligence, silently watching before choosing to act. Smile behind glass. A solo adventurer stumbled upon an abandoned cabin, and when he peeked inside through the window, a mysterious figure was standing behind the glass. Reported in 2018, he described how the figure smiled at him, then realizing he was being watched frightened him so much that he ran away. The cabin was not marked on any map or logging records. To this day, he has never returned to the forest and believes the figure was not human, or at least not anymore. Bear's camera capered. In 2018, a remarkable incident took place in New Hampshire when a black bear approached a trail camera and eventually tried to remove it from its mount. The bear wasn't being aggressive, it was simply curious. Experts believe it may have picked up a scent from human handling, bait, or even faint sounds coming from the device. Trail cameras often use infrared light for night vision, and while most animals ignore it, bears can sometimes detect the red glow. Even after being knocked around, the camera kept recording, capturing the bear's close-up behavior and the moment it tried to walk off with it. Mysterious pale shapes. In 2021, footage surfaced showing 4 white, pale-skinned figures leaping over a fence before vanishing into the darkness. Recorded in a remote township, the creatures had no visible clothing or body features, just smooth, ghostly skin, making it hard to tell if they were human or something else entirely. Many believe these humanoid shapes were skinwalkers, mysterious shape-shifting entities tied to Native American folklore. The creatures appeared and disappeared without a trace, displaying a high level of environmental awareness. Their skin tone and behavior suggest adaptation to dark, rural settings. According to Navajo legend, skinwalkers are witches capable of transforming into animals or humanoid beasts. Cryptid on roof. In 2017, a mysterious figure resembling a blend of both human and reptile was reported by local villagers near remote trails. Witnesses claimed it had pale skin, 2 horns on its head, and moved with unnatural flexibility, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The most recent sighting was captured when it appeared on the roof of a house at night. However, the creature immediately fled after being noticed by nearby residents, vanishing into the shadows. While locals believe it might be some kind of cryptid, the footage has sparked online discussions about ancient reptilian humanoid species possibly coming back to life.
But I would like to know your take on it, so write it down in the comments section. Alright folks, hope you enjoyed it. But if you want more of the weird side of the world, then subscribe to see what we upload tomorrow, because this is the wow you've been missing in your life. Thank you so much for watching.